Good afternoon, councillors and staff. Well, welcome to our September Ordinary Council meeting. Special welcome to our visitors in the gallery, and welcome especially to our Youth of the Month, Penny Gosper, who's up the back there, and we'll be speaking more with her, and welcome to her family to our meeting. First of all, please be advised that this council meeting is being recorded and live streamed. By speaking at this meeting, you agree to being recorded and live streamed. Please ensure that if and when you speak, you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Combined Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this meeting. The recording of this meeting will be made publicly available on Council's website. I'll call the first item. Before I do, actually, getting ahead of myself. We've got a special day today. It's somebody's birthday. Happy birthday to Mandy. First item, application for leave of absence. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Weaver, seconded by Councillor Pearson. We have two applications for leave of absence, one from Councillor Batten and one from Councillor Nash. Other than that, we're all here, so I will put that. All those in favour? Against? That is carried. Item 2 is declarations of interest. Move in a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Ryan, seconded by Councillor Rawson. I have nothing to declare. Does anybody have anything to declare? Nothing? I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 3 is declarations of political donations. Move in a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Jones, seconded by Councillor Weaver. I've got nothing to declare. Anybody got anything to declare? Well, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. All right. I'll just suspend the meeting temporarily because we have All right, I'll resume our meeting and I'll draw your attention to item 4, which is the mayoral minute of appointment. So I'll move that, and I have tabled a report, and Councillor Rawson has, Councillor Jones has, Councillor Weaver has, Councillor Pearson has, and Councillor Ryan has. Does anybody have anything verbal for the mayoral minute? If not, I'll put it. All those in favour? Aye. Against? Carried. Item 5 is committee of the whole. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Rawson, seconded by Councillor Pearson. Now, does anybody wish to call any items in the committee of the whole? Councillor Rawson. Yep. Item 18. Anything else at all? Nothing. I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 6 is confirmation of minutes, and we've got our August ordinary meeting, September environment and infrastructure meetings. I have a mover and a second. Councillor Weaver, thank you. Second by Councillor O'Ryan. Anything for the minutes? You weren't here? No. Seconder, Councillor Jones, amended. Anything in the minutes? Nope. All right, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Item 7 is delegation to Fairbridge Children's Park Committee. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Jones, seconded by Councillor O'Ryan. Now, I'm quite willing to go on this committee if you wish. Anybody want to fight me? Nope. All right. No further discussion? I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Item 8 is inquiry into the review of the operations of New South Wales Reconstruction Authority. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Jones, second by Councillor Rawson. Any discussion on that? Councillor Rawson.
Yeah, look, I think it's a great idea. And was there any thought of having a small committee, including a couple of councillors? I was just thinking that both yourself and the Deputy Mayor was very heavily involved in particularly what happened in Yagara and the aftermath. Are you going to be involved in the submission, or?
Yeah, well, obviously it's also in conjunction with the JO as well. So, yeah, and also I'm going to be going to a Parliament House on the 13th, I think it is. No, October. It's a couple of weeks, the same thing. I don't know, we call it an inquiry. I'm not using the word inquiry, but it's not really a discussion, I suppose. I'll similar. So I don't know whether it's involved with this or not. I'm not sure. But myself and Brad will be going to that. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yeah, I like Councillor Rawson, completely agree that from our experience with New South Wales Reconstruction Authority, we should provide a submission to this inquiry, and if invited to do so, hopefully yourself or the General Manager could appear. In saying that, in what I'm about to say, I just want to firstly preference it by acknowledging Ken Harris and the staff at Reconstruction Authority, who have done a fantastic job in supporting us on the ground and supporting the people of Cabonne in their recovery efforts. But some of the things in terms of this, in response to the terms of reference and some of the things that we have heard from residents and the impacted community on the ground are things around the need for a resilient homes guide to be available to residents following a flood, so that they can rebuild using approved materials, and therefore, if funding is available, be eligible for that, not being rolled out to 12 months to 2 years down the track. Other things I think that we should be addressing include the delays in the Resilient Homes program. Obviously, our flood, or the flood that hit Cabon and the broader Central West, occurred approximately 5 months before a state election. And I believe this hampered our recovery efforts. No fault of anyone, but obviously there was a change of government 5 months after that. We had built rapport with the previous government. They had seen firsthand on the ground the devastation it had caused, and then a new government was elected, and rightfully so. They spent 6 months looking at the books and working out how they were going to govern. But that really delayed our recovery efforts here in the Central West. So certainly I think those delays have meant that people are still in pods, people are still out of homes, etc. The other piece I think that's important is that when resilient homes programs are offered, that for rural councils in particular, those bread and butter councils like ours, there should be a land option, a resilient lands option made available as part of that. We know here that we still haven't got a resilient lands package for Eugowra. We know that there are people that are opting for buybacks or that are currently trying to make that decision, and not having an option for those people who want to stay here, and most of them do want to stay in Cabon, is going to have a broader impact on the community in terms of employment, schooling, and business, etc. The Reconstruction Authority obviously have their own act, and whilst they're very much in their infancy, I think there's greater need for, or there is a need for them to be able to use their powers more. So at times, my experience was that Reconstruction Authority were a bit of a conduit to other departments in terms of roads infrastructure and transport infrastructure, where we struggled with bureaucracy a little bit and being tied up in grant guidelines. We've obviously had to fight, tooth and nail all the way along to get our fair share of funding for things like roads, etc. So as the overarching agency and the agency that's here on the ground, I think it's important that they have greater powers in terms of those guidelines and decision making. And that brings me to the point where I think the guidelines need to be, any guidelines for funding that the New South Wales Reconstruction Authority are rolling out need to be clear and established from day one, and consistent right across natural disasters in New South Wales, not just as per disaster, as per an individual event. And then my last point would be around the fact that we all know that governments can't continue to fund recovery efforts, and there needs to be a greater emphasis on mitigation and adaptation work. So I would love to see the Reconstruction Authority start to really focus, or be given some funding from government to roll programs out that support councils like ours with mitigation and adaptation works. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I agree with everything you've said, but in particular also the initial response by the Reconstruction Authority. Thank you for mentioning that, because they did a fantastic job, and the inquiries about that also, about what was good. So thank you for that. Anything further? Nothing?
Just thanks, Mr. Mayor. No, just was wondering whether or not we should just constitute a small committee to capture all of that information to do this submission.
When's the submission in by? It's pretty short, 3rd of October.
It's not long, yeah.
Not long, but if people
I mean,
want
it's
to go
up
on
to you.
a committee and a
It's
working
entirely
group.
up to you. Because look, there's a lot of valuable information and a lot of valuable experience there that should be captured somehow. And certainly, look, I sent an email around to all councillors just a few days ago about the climate change components of all of this, and obviously I've got an interest as well. Just wondering whether or not.
Through Mr Mayor, we are pressed for time. My suggestion would be that staff put together the bones of the submission, and we forward it to councils prior to submission and get the feedback from it.
Yeah. So that'll go out via what, email? Email?
Through Mr Mayor, they'll go out by email and by Monday next week.
All right. So what about we say it goes out by email if there's any, I'll naturally invite comments on it and discussion, but if we need to, we might have to convene at short notice if that's the case to clarify a couple of things or put more submission towards it. So, and those that are willing, won't say form a committee, but those that are willing to come in and do that if that's required, how about we go down that path? I'm happy with that? Yep. Yep. Right. Thank you. Anything further? All right, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against, carried. Item 9 is council meeting schedule, November and December 25 and through to January 26. Mover and a seconder. Councillor Weaver, move. Second by Councillor Pearson. Any discussion on that at all?
Yeah, I think I'll be away on the November date.
Yep. That's all right. That's fine. Any further discussion on that? Yep.
Sorry, it's somewhat frustrating because I organise leave and, with my wife according to when the council meetings are set earlier in the year. And so we specifically chose that week because there was nothing happening on council, and now we have a council meeting moved into that that time. So I'm not happy about it. I mean, I'll agree to it, but
Yeah,
it's a great pity
I know what
that's
you're
the
saying.
case.
And unfortunately, it can happen. So yeah.
Normally I'd just join in, via the airwaves, but I'm actually going to be in a place where there is literally no internet coverage. There's no any coverage.
Well, that's probably a good holiday.
That's a great holiday. Yeah.
All right. Note your comment. That's fine. But enjoy your holiday. All right. Anything further? All right. I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Item 10 is the strategic policy review. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Poole, second by Councillor Pearson. Any discussion on that? All happy? I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Yep. Item 11 is the draft 2024-25 financial statement. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Rawson, second by Councillor Weaver. Would you like to come up and join the, just in case? Come up and join. Have a seat. Yeah. Thank you.
This is a part of the financial statements that aren't required anymore or taken out of the code. This is the statement of the councils do have the option for referral. As
Share that.
share it and give some summary. The position pensions and
All right, is any discussion on the financial statements? Right.
We just have a few minutes to
That's-
digest some of this. Is that okay?
Or, Dale, would you like to highlight some of the things?
So I think on the first one, the operating performance ratio, we are seeing a much improved position, and as I think I wrote in my report, it isn't a normal year. Specifically, we had a large upfront payment or payout of the insurance income, so that was the 2.750 insurance income we received up front. We had a much larger increase in interest income from investments, and we had a lot of reduction in materials and services on the income statement because we did such a bigger capital works program. So a lot of the materials and services are now more so on the balance sheet than the income statement. I have given a breakup by fund as well. So the water fund did deteriorate slightly, even though the excess charges and the water income was up. There were additional materials and services associated with the water fund and a reduction in grants and interest income for them. And there was no significant change at all in the sewer fund. It was very similar. So don't know if you want me to go through everyone, but you will be able to read it and send any questions to me at any time. But it is a much improved overall position for council this year. But I think, as I said in the report, it's not a normal year. So yeah, an improved operating result and stronger liquidity can be largely attributed to council utilising the grant funded programs to undertake its capital and works program. We should not consider this a normal year, and council still faces significant medium and long-term challenges in maintaining its services, facilities and programs.
All right. Any questions or comment?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I just want to thank Dale and the Chief Finance Officer and the finance team for their work on this. And I know through ARIC, the work they've done in pulling this together with our external auditors, and the positive feedback we've been getting from our external auditors over the last couple of years has been fantastic. So thank you, Dale. But probably just wanted to make some comments similar to what Dale just mentioned in terms of we've had a deficit of more than 2.6 million in our general fund, a deficit of around $1 million in our water fund, and a deficit of around or just over 200,000 in our sewer fund. And obviously we've had a lot of grants come in, as the Chief Financial Officer has said. We've had a lot of grants come in that's certainly helped our position and made our books look pretty good this financial year. But as a conservative and pretty financially responsible and conservative council, with not a lot of own-sourced income, I think it paints not just a concerning picture for us here in Cabonne, but a concerning picture for local government across the state. We know there's been a number of reports, both the New South Wales and federal governments have held inquiries into the sustainability of local government. Local government New South Wales has commissioned a report which said that about $500 of every rate that we get, of every rate dollar we get, goes towards state government in terms of cost shifting. But yeah, as a council, looking at those long-term financial plans, we've got some difficult decisions to make into the future if those grants do dry up and become tough. But just in closing, again, acknowledge the team for their work. Thank you.
Can I
Councillor
ask, the statement of performance measures by fund, so I'm working on the assumption that, well, does every council do these exact ratios like this? Is that standard? Like, could you look at another shire and say, well, ours is, because, you know, it all comes down to just a single figure. Ours is 7.33, we're performing better in that particular area than, you know, some other, are they directly comparable, this, or is this ours, just ours?
The interesting thing is the code this year has omitted these, so it's no longer the Code of Accounting has withdrawn these statement of performance measures. Councils really only have the two options of completely omitting them from the financial statements or selecting to include them, but there's a break in the financials that says this end of the audited financial statements. They must now follow afterwards. So when the New South Wales Audit Office come here to present the financials to council this year, they are not able to speak on these any longer. This will be so I have had a look at some other councils. I think the interesting thing is being able to reach the benchmarks now. The benchmark percentages they put out is quite difficult for councils to actually stay in those benchmarks. So I'm not sure actually of the decision of the change in 2025, but it is part of the code that's been altered. But I still wanted to show you and present it to you. So we've chosen to include them in the financials, but unaudited this year.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just through you, Mr Mayor, do we need to make a decision about keeping these in future, or is it just going to be an ad hoc decision to keep them? I mean, I personally would like to see this sort of information, these ratios, even though, I mean, I think the decision to remove them is probably just to stop people noticing the fact that we rarely meet benchmarks. You know, particularly in rural councils, we rarely meet benchmarks, which is a bit embarrassing for the state government that, you know, we actually, this council does pretty well compared to others. And I've certainly seen these same ratios being in other councils. I'd like to see these remain.
I agree.
Yeah, I mean, these give us a good overview of where we sit in relation to whether or not we're getting towards a catastrophic situation or not. You know, these sort of ratios help that.
I was just checking with about the fact of how much work's in it for you. But he said, hope he's right, not that much.
No, we agree to keep them in. That's why I've...
So I think we can just, no need to have a resolution for it, we can just ask for it. And staff can provide it.
For you, Mr Mayor, the chair of the ARIC has actually asked for these to be provided to them as well. So we'll be providing them for the ARIC also. So what's provided to ARIC comes to council as well.
Thank you. It'd be great to see them at this point now, though, you know, rather than having to wait till going through the ARIC committee and then eventually that reporting to us. So at this stage, when this has all got to be signed off, it's always good to see the annual situation, I think. So yeah, I agree. Keep doing it.
Mr Mayor, just to be clear, we have provided these to ARIC.
So it's provided automatically to ARIC, so it would come to us. ARIC's not approving it.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
There's usually
Through Mr Mayor, we're not required to provide the draft statements to ARIC. We undertake that as an organisation to make sure our ARIC has got the full amount of information. So if they've got the information earlier, they can digest it earlier and provide improved advice to council. But in providing the draft statements to ARIC, ARIC has actually asked for these ratios to be provided with the draft statements as well. So you're not waiting for advice to come back from ARIC for this discussion right now. ARIC, however, at the adoption stage, needs to review those before they come to council through the audit office.
And I'm not suggesting you do otherwise from that. Yeah, no, of course you would do that.
Anything further? All right, we'll put that. All those in favour? Against, that's carried. Thank you, everybody. Item 12 is draft generative artificial intelligence policy. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Rawson, Councillor Poole, second by Councillor O'Ryan. Any discussion on this at all? All right, I'll put it. All those in favour? Against, carried. Item 13 is the draft roads management policy. Mover and a seconder. Moved by Councillor Jones, second by Councillor Pearson. Any discussion on that at all? No? All good? All right, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against, that's carried. Thank you, everybody. Item 14 is questions for next meeting. Mover and a seconder, please. Moved by Councillor Poole, seconded by Councillor Pearson. Does anybody have any questions for next meeting? Councillor Weaver.
It's not actually a question, but maybe a request. Coming down the road today and past the Mitchell Monument, and the large tree's been removed from there, if my memory serves me right. It's very bare and very open, and that's where kids get dropped off for bus times and school times. Is there any way that we can make it look a little bit nicer? It is a historical monument. It's gone.
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'll take that on notice. I am aware that we have been pursuing grant funding for school bus stop areas, and that was one of the sites on the list. I'd just like to confirm the application status on that before I go any further into that.
Thank you. Councillor Jones.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The Cargo Progress Association at the meeting last night raised and asked for a matter to be referred to the Traffic Committee. They are also going to write to Council and have put in through the Transport for New South Wales website a speed extension request, and that is on Davies Plains Road. So the residential area has expanded over the last few years, and they're wondering if we're currently at C80K zone, whether a study could be done and feedback given in terms of extending that 50K zone. Please.
Through Mr Mayor, we can forward that to the Traffic Committee, which I believe the next meeting's in November.
Well, sorry, just further information. It will be raised by the community at their community future ready combined community consultation session. So just heads up. Thank you.
Yep, Councillor Weaver.
Yes, Mr Mayor. At the Progress Association meeting on the 15th, it was brought up that where the rail line's been removed from the back of the town, there's still concrete and trees that have been uprooted, I understand, that are still there and could still cause a problem. Have they finished with the clearance of all of that area yet or not?
have to guess that the pylons are part of, those concrete are the pylons, and I don't think they were going to remove them. There was some historical thing with those, was it?
All right.
So they're staying. As far as the tree and debris,
Through Mr. Mayor, we'll take that on notice. The contractor should be getting fairly close to being finished on that, but I can't say for certain.
Okay, thank you.
anything further? Questions for next meeting? No? All right, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against, that's carried. Item 15 is business paper items for noting. Mover and a second. Moved by Councillor Poole, second by Councillor Jones. Anybody wish to call out any items for noting? No? All right, I'll put that. All those in favour? Against, that's carried. Item 16 is matters of urgency. Move in a second, please. Moved by Councillor Rawson, second by Councillor Poole. Anybody have anything urgent? Nope. I'll put that. All those in favour? Against, carried. Item 17 is committee of the whole section of the meeting. Moving a second, we're moving to committee. I'll deal with that now, actually. Moved by Councillor Pearson, seconded by Councillor Jones. All those in favour? Against, carried. So item 18 has been called into committee of the whole, which is the supplementaries. So if we go to your supplementary, item 18, mover and a seconder on that, please. Moved by Councillor Pearson, seconded by Councillor Rawson. Right, any discussion? Councillor Rawson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I just had, I just felt that we probably would need a little bit of time to sort of go through this document and just be aware of some of the changes that are going to meeting practice. And I've just got a few questions on a few items just for clarification more than anything else. One of the things that was there's a definition of days in there, which is calendar days. And that's an important definition because the minimum requirements for receiving of business papers is 3 days, which is 3 calendar days, which means that because our meetings start on a Tuesday, it means that the minimum requirement is that we receive our business papers on the Saturday. No, well, I just have to check that. The standard practice within our Shire is for our business papers going out on the previous Wednesday, which is fantastic. But the minimum requirement by the OLG is that it's 3 calendar days. So that's something just to be reminded of, and whether or not we should modify the wording of that to be working days for business papers, or whether or not we just accept that that's the minimum requirement, and we exceed that minimum requirement every time as a matter of normal policy or normal procedure.
When I was at Alba, some of the councillors were saying that they get thousands of pages of council papers to read. Like, you know, so much information they have to digest, and they only have 3 days, according to this, to do it. It's phenomenal.
And well, the issue we've got is that we've got council meetings on a Tuesday, which means 3 days means Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Yes.
Which is fine. You know, none of us actually not work on a weekend, but it means that it only gives us really effectively 1 day, the day before the council meeting, to ask questions of staff, which I certainly wouldn't want to be ringing up staff on a Sunday afternoon after having read through the material. So that was just something that to keep in mind, whether or not we actually
Well, I
make
think
that
the
change.
word says it's a minimum of 3 days. I mean, the practice is, as you said, that ours are out normally the Wednesday before the Tuesday, and at the very, very latest a Thursday. So I
don't think that the staff would apply at the minimum 3 days.
I mean, it's just something to keep in mind, you know. It's just something that's there. I don't think it really works well for us, but, you know, it's just the way, that's what's there. A couple of other things. Something that has changed, which we probably need to be fully aware of, is obviously the prohibition on pre-meeting briefing sessions. We don't have pre-meeting briefing sessions at the moment. What it really means there is that we can't have a pre-meeting briefing session or workshop or discussion or whatever in the period of time between when the agenda is sent out to us, which is minimum 3 days. So in our case, it's actually the previous Wednesday. So from that previous Wednesday through to our council meeting, we can't have any meetings. It also means that if we do need to find out some more information from staff during that time period after the agenda goes out, that whatever information that the staff give to us personally has to also be given to every councillor, but also, under these new rules, also to the public and to the media. So it means that we have to be very careful about what we ask of staff during that period of time, and that whatever information that we get from them has to be also divulged to everybody. So that's I think it's a really important change that we need to keep in mind. Because we don't want to put the staff, you know, on the line and compromise them by asking questions. But sometimes there's going to be information that we would like to have. I've certainly asked questions of senior staff about particular issues that's come up in the agenda, and I've generally received really good answers, and it's generally been then delivered to everybody on the council, which is great. But we've now, under this rule, we've got to send it out it's got to be divulged to the public and to the media.
Yeah, 100%. And I've brought that to your attention before that's one of the changes there. And I think that in the past it's been encouraged, like you said, to ask questions of senior staff. So I think to make sure that there's a procedure in place here, I think that without speaking to the General Manager about this particular fact just yet, but I will be, that if you do have questions of the business papers after they come out on the Wednesday, that it is put in writing to the General Manager, who then can provide the answer through his executive, and therefore it means we've got it well and truly recorded and available to the public as well, and available naturally, more importantly, to each of the councillors, that particular question that's asked, which might be pertinent for everybody. So that would be my suggestion. Joe, you want to comment on that at all?
So if we need extra information, say if it's a DA and
After the papers are out?
after the papers are, it's after the papers are out.
Exactly, that's the key thing, after the papers are out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely, after the papers are out, it has to be. So to make sure that it's all above board, that's the only way I can see it, making sure that it's 100% right. That if you put that question in writing by email to the General Manager, he can then source the answer if he doesn't know it, with his expertise in the executive, and then the answer is provided back in an email, circulated to everybody, and then it's available. How would the public reporting, how does that work? We've got to work through that. But
Mr Mayor, we will be workshopping this with council, the implications. Obviously, with the time pressures, we do need to get it out to public exhibition, comply with the Office of Local Government guidelines, getting it out. In response to the question, the information has to be to the public. My interpretation of it is that the questions that are raised can be brought to the council meeting and discussed at the council meeting. That's getting to the public because it's live streamed. and accessible through the minutes also to council. So it doesn't have to be provided to the community prior to the meeting, so as long as the question that's been asked in private has been brought to council, so all councils can hear, and then that information can then go to the public thereafter.
What if the information is fairly lengthy, like a document or something that we'd like to say it's a development application, there's like an environmental report which has been discussed in the business papers, but we're not actually given the report. I'd like to have a look at the report, which I'm allowed to do. And I've done that before. I've asked for that and got a good response, got the appropriate response that's been sent around to everybody. But that then, how does that then get out to the public and to the media?
With me, it depends. And it depends on the situation. Depends, is it a public report? Is it a confidential report? If it's a confidential report, then the matter needs to be considered to be moved into the confidential section of the business paper. So there's a lot of depends on the actual situation that you're dealing with. But with regards to detailed information, the detailed information can be tabled in there and provided as part of the minutes to the public. But all in dealing with it actually in the council chamber, that detailed response would have to be provided to all councillors at least on the day of the meeting itself.
Okay, so, yeah, thanks.
And look, and thank you for reminding, like, we really will have to have a workshop to go through all this and so everybody understands it. But a couple of other things that is going to be new is that our subcommittee meetings, they're all got to be not just recorded now, they've got to be live streamed.
Mm.
The public address got to be live streamed. So on a workshop day, we have our public address that will all have to be recorded. So we'll have to run that separately to anything that we're doing on that day. Any other ones, Joe, that are significant? No.
So we've just been warned off there.
All right, so yeah, Councillor Paul.
Yeah, I don't think it's the end of the world. We've known it's been coming, and reading through that, obviously we have to make some changes, but I don't think it's overwhelming. We'll manage, except maybe standing.
That'll be enforced. Councillor Rawson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a further couple of items. The one thing I don't agree with in this is the attendance at meetings by audio-visual link, the new changes to that, which restricted to councillors are prevented from attending a meeting in person. So it's only restricted to where councillors are prevented from attending a meeting in person because of ill health or other medical reasons or because of unforeseen caring responsibilities. It sort of removes the occasions where we might be away on leave somewhere or could be out, outside of the district for work or whatever, but still are able to come along to council meetings via audio-visual link. We're not sick, we're not caring for somebody, but we could be away for work. And I know it's been a situation for a couple of us in the past where we're quite willing to attend council meetings, we just happen to be not in Molong. And I think that's restrictive, and I don't agree with it, and I think we should somehow fight against that. There should be a provision there which allows for councillors to attend council meetings when they can do so, not restrict us just to these restrictions here. There's certainly been occasions where I've been away from here and others of us have been away from here and quite able to attend. It's not because we're sick ourselves or we're caring for somebody.
You can put aside a couple of hours in your day or wherever you are.
wherever you are, to do this, yeah. Yeah, we should be able to do that. I mean,
I acknowledge and agree with you totally, but honestly, it's this is what the minister wants, and that's it.
is there no way we can have a local policy which allows a change to that?
Can't override that.
Hmm?
You can't override that.
Unfortunately, I'd believe that's probably a city-based decision where councillors are full-time and we're in a rural area where we're not full-time and they haven't recognised that.
We travel distances.
It's pretty much a one-size-fits-all policy.
I look at it and they just pass it. Well, you remember pre-COVID, there was no such thing. So you had to either attend the meeting or you didn't attend the meeting. Remember that?
But the technology exists, so we're using it. So, you know, technology exists. I mean, we used to use quilts, but, you know, we don't anymore. I've got another question. In the dealing with disorder, there's a following constitutes acts of disorder under the regulation, and there's a long list of things that constitute the disorder. I've got a curly one for you, Mr. Mayor. Who decides that? Is it the mayor, or can it be a councillor who says, I consider that to be an act of disorder? Someone who, you know, could be someone said something from the other side of the chamber, who says, you know, oh, you know, they've made something rude remark to me. I consider that to be an act of disorder. How does that councillor then get the mayor's attention to say that, to declare that that was an act of disorder?
Point of order.
That's a point of order. It's actually not identified in here about who decides on what is an act of disorder. It's not something that we generally deal with because we're nice people. We are nice people.
I think to an extent too, we've got to let logic work its way. A lot of this logical, when you think about it, you know, they're not putting it in there to harm anyone, or it's a guideline. But I just think, you know, it's common sense and logic works well.
What we've just established from the previous point that was made is that at least one of the provisions is not common sense, and that is about the ability to access via audio-visual. It's definitely not helpful, certainly not for rural councils anyway. No.
Except there are some shires with real disruptors in their councils, so, you know, they need to have policies.
Mr. Mayor, given
All right. As I said, we'll go into this more in a workshop scenario, and all these questions can be thrown about. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As long as we have the ability at the next iteration of this, when it comes back to council, to make changes to this if we can, or if there's wiggle room with some of these to make minor changes. I mean, there are decisions that we can make here. Things about, for example, the timing of public forums, for example. You know, that's another one that we can make that decision, and that needs to be discussed.
All right. I'll put that. All those in favour? Against, that's carried. Just double checking here. I think we dealt with 17 last, which was go into committee of the whole, wasn't it? Yes. So could I have somebody move that we move out of committee of the whole? Councillor Pearson, thank you. Second by Councillor Jones. All those in favour? Against, that's carried. The second item on the supplementary is the 19, the unsupervised full access operation policy. Move on to seconder. Councillor Weaver, second by Councillor Paul. Formalising what a great initiative we have. I don't think it needs any discussion. I would say, well done and keep up the good work. Everybody happy with that? Any further comment? Yep. All right. I'll put that. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. All right. That concludes our section of ordinary. We'll move into closed section.